So, everyone always says that the deep desert in Dune Awakening is just a big zerg fest, right? But what if you're a solo player? Or maybe just running with a couple of friends, and you still really want all that endgame gear plus endless amounts of spice? Here's how to get it all, purely on your own terms. Now, before we get into it, remember that there is no way to get all the best endgame gear and tools without going into the PvP areas of the deep desert, and you will run into other players out here. So if you're a solo PvE player who prefers to avoid the PvP endgame, remember that you don't even need to engage with the Plastanium crafting tier at all. You can complete all the content back in the Haga Basin using just Duraluminium gear. Also, let's just be real here, you won't be able to run a full spice harvesting operation all by yourself. You need at least 2 or 3 people to use the carrier ornithopter and a slow sandcrawler effectively. And without some good scouting, you'll simply be easy prey for all the other player groups out there. But I can hear you already. What if I really want that endgame gear? And okay, I don't need a carrier or a sandcrawler to get spice, but I do need them to collect dust in my hangar so I can stare at them all day. Okay, relax my friend. There's literally nothing stopping your solo self from acquiring every single pixelated treasure in Dune. Just be warned, since you're flying solo, prepare for a slower pace and a playstyle shift. How, you ask? Become the desert rat. Learn the ways of the deep desert and fully use those Fremen lessons you picked up doing those journeys. Use everything in your Frem kit, the still tent, thumpers, compactors. All these tools will help you master desert survival just like the Fremen. Alright, let's get started. It's the beginning of the new week. First, you'll need to set up a small outpost within the PvE zone of the deep desert. Location is key, because water is very scarce in the deep desert. There's no dew out here, so you'll have to rely a lot on defeating enemies for their blood, and I mean lots of blood. Setting up your base close to some nearby testing stations and shipwrecks is very important. Shipwrecks are great for getting blood and bodies. Many PvE players avoid them because they're PvP pockets, and PvP players mostly head to the wrecks further north for better schematics, so you'll usually find lots of untouched enemy NPCs here. I'd survey the whole south side early to find the best spot. Building wise, anything will do, as long as it's big enough to hold your ornithopter. Just, please, do us all a favor and don't build the basic box with the pentashield, okay? This place will be your main smelting and refining base, so make sure you bring all the materials for building all your refineries. A medium chemical, a medium ore, and a spice refinery. All this raw stuff is very heavy, so you'll need to process it right there in the deep desert before taking it to the Haga Basin. Next, once your safe house is done, start heading north. Starting from the G sector upwards, you'll start fighting Stravidium and Titanium. Once you've reached these areas, it's time to stash your ornithopter. Yep, you heard me right. We're hitting the ground and walking. You'll just have to get used to long desert strolls. Your trusty flying machine is mostly for hauling big loads out here, not daily travel. Ornithopters are super loud, trust me. They make a ton of noise whether you're flying, spawning, or even just starting up. As a solo player, you really don't want all that attention out here. Your main goal is always to be as sneaky as possible, right? Also, everyone expects players in the deep desert to be flying, so they barely look down from the sky. If someone does spot you, they'll usually look twice before even realizing what they're seeing or deciding to attack. They'll probably just think you're a madman, honestly. This gives you plenty of time to react and quickly hide into some rocks. Plus, in my experience, most other players won't risk their thopters to jump out for a fight with someone on foot. So you're generally pretty safe out there. Walking the deep desert is actually much easier than in Haga Basin because the sectors here are so huge it takes way longer to attract the sandworm. Just remember not to use any Holtzman tech while on sand. I usually try to climb a tall rock and look for worm sign first. Those are the huge sand movements and dust clouds you see when a worm travels through the sand. Then I plan my long walk across the sand from outcrop to outcrop so I can actually make it safely. I found that you can easily walk for more than 1 or 2 kilometers before a worm even notices your steps. That's assuming you've already checked for worm sign and haven't seen any nearby. If you do happen to call a worm and it shows up, you can quickly pop out your ornithopter and fly up. No one will even hear your thopter spawn if you're already out on the vast open sand. Next, we'll need to build a quiet rat base in the deep desert's PvP area. Look for a smaller rock formation near a big one that spawns a lot of Stravidium fiber and titanium. You might want to build right on the big ore rich spot, but remember, you're trying to be sneaky. Further you are from those busy areas, the better your chances of staying hidden. Your base also only needs to be big enough for a few storage boxes and a generator. That's really all you'll ever need here. Find the smallest crack that can hold just a couple of foundations. Always use natural rock formations to your advantage. The less walls you have exposed, the much better your defense will be. This space you'll only use for briefly storing your collected materials before moving them back to the safe area. I even recommend having a sand bike ready in this space. It can be a basic model with looted parts and some storage. This small addition makes moving your collected stuff around much easier. Plus, a sand bike is super quiet and won't draw any attention like a parked ornithopter. Here's how I usually do it. I find a big outcrop nearby where I can mine, and then I just leave all the ore on the ground. I put it in a corner or a small cave because both titanium and stravidium are very heavy ores. Luckily, dropped items seem to stay on the ground long enough to fill 1 or 2 ornithopter loads. Once you've gathered enough, I either use my sand bike or just run it on foot to the small base I set up. When your base storage is full, it's time to carefully move all your hard-earned stuff to your safe outpost. I usually do this with the scout ornithopter. Always find routes through empty grids on the map. These are your safest bets. Look for areas with almost no hotspots and fewer rock formations, so other players have no reason to be there. You can even travel along the very edge of the map, since these sides of the deep desert usually have nothing of interest. If there's no reason for anybody to be in a sector, you're generally safe to move your haul. And if you do get spotted, fly high. Overheat so the enemy can't use their weapons against you. 800 meters above ground will do. Bring it all back to safety, smelt your metals, refine your spice, and you're done. You're already a rat king of Arrakis. Really, anything can be done in Dune Awakening. Even for you lone wolves and small packs out there, you just gotta play smarter, not harder, especially against those massive zerg guilds. Forget trying to outmuscle them, outsmart them. Think about it. We've all learned from the Fremen, right? They spent their whole lives getting squashed by the big houses. Well, now that's you in the deep desert. So, go on, become a rat, embrace the rat. Learn to harness the glorious, sneaky desert power. You got this, you magnificent little desert pest. What's your strategy for getting all that spice and endgame material? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want to chat with me or other members of the community, or even play a few games together, be sure to join my Discord server. Or you can also drop by my Twitch live streams. I usually stream 2 days a week, and Dune Awakening has definitely taken over. I can't wait to hang out with y'all. Thanks again, and have a great day.